Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends, and welcome to JCB Live. Happy New Year! This is January 8th, the 8th day, and for the 8th day, we invited a dear friend for this happy hour. She's amazing. She's very charming. She's wearing one of the most amazing dresses. She's a leopard tonight. She's always dressed to the tilt. She is a brain. She's a mind. She created San Francisco Wire, among many other things, right? For a ton of magazines, we will discover that. She writes incredible books, but she's as well a businesswoman. After Harvard Business School, she created her own business, successfully sold it, and then said, what do I do with my life? And what is so cool, dear friends, for all of us, is she decided to follow her passion. She's one of the creators of Burning Man. Can you imagine this amazing gathering in the middle of the deserts where you can actually be yourself or be whoever you wish to be and act the way you want to act for 1 week? So I'm very pleased to welcome this amazing lady for this new year that really represents everything that you as a lady want to do, us as individual wish we would pursue, which is our passion, and create, obviously, the impossible, which is great books and great dreams. So I'm very pleased, dear friends, to bring to the table Jennifer Reiser for this beautiful new year.
Santé.
Bonjour. Bonsoir. Comment
Bonjour
ça va?
et bonsoir. Ça va très très bien, merci.
Hey, what a dress. Are we ready for going dancing?
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's
It's gonna happen. It's
Let's
gonna
do
happen.
it. Well, we do it privately, just to let you know. Voilà, madame.
Merci.
So for you, Jennifer, which is amazing, is we've chose a wine named Beau Monde, which is beautiful world. And I would like you, as we cheer, to tell us, how did you succeed to create your own beautiful world? Because this is pretty amazing. From your career, as I said, to business, to building a very successful business with veterans and senior homes, and then following your passion. How do you go and do that?
You know, first of all, you do it with the help and support and love of a lot of people. You never do these things alone. But what I was able to do is take things that interested me and find ways to share them. And that created my next business, which is to be a writer. I started going to Burning Man when I had sold my business, and I was kind of searching for my next thing to do. And I kept looking at the art, and I was blown away by how creative and pure it was, because there's no curator, there's no museum, there's no walls. So people create art there that is from their heart.
That's right.
And no one had written a book about it. Now we're talking about, I started going 16 years ago.
When it all started, really, since the beginning.
It's 30 years, it's more than 30 years old, but it really became established as an art movement over the last 2 decades, I would say. And the art was just mind-boggling. I mean, there'd be something 80 feet tall, or there'd be something, you know, that would take you all day to discover. And people worked on these things all year for no money, for no credit, for no little placard on a wall, for no dealer or curator. They just did it because they wanted to express themselves. And I thought, that's the world I want to live in, where
that's
people
right.
express themselves. And so I got to write a book about it. And then I got involved in actually the organization, which is now a nonprofit, which I'm very proud of. So that's the first edition, with a beautiful sculpture by Kate Raudenbush on the cover. And then the second edition, which has a beautiful, amazing piece by Petaluma artist Michael Garlington on the cover.
Who we got to see together.
Yes.
I was amazed.
I hope you'll have him on the show at some point.
I think it would be great. And we got to talk about what we all had in mind for the wine country.
That's right.
You know.
And I'm going to show you something that kind of embodies what Burning Man is all about. So this is you can see there's a man there, so you can see the scale. This is 5 stories high. It's all dioramas that Michael staged and shot and then blew up on his old Rolleiflex camera and mounted on plywood and built into this amazing structure, which he called the Totem of Confessions. Ooh. And there was a confession booth inside, and Susan Sarandon actually brought Timothy Leary's ashes to put on an altar inside as well. And it was just dazzling inside. In the book, there are lots of photographs of it. But the thing about Burning Man, just like life, it's ephemeral. And so the cover of the actual book is a picture of the same structure that's burning, and it's gone. And you would say to Michael, who worked on this for over a year with his partner Natalia, why would you burn it? And he said, take a picture. It's a picture of pictures. You always have it. He said it still exists. It just doesn't exist in physical form. And to me, that's such a great metaphor for life. You know, we have these memories that we capture and we love, and we still have them, whether or not they're with us, or people the same way.
Very, very true.
So Burning Man to me is a very philosophical experience. It's an amazing party. But that's not why you go back. You go back for the people and for the work and for the creativity that's involved.
And the spirituality of it as well. And the search of your own self.
That's exactly.
Did you have some revelation at Burning Man as you were there that you're willing to obviously share?
You know, here, I don't want to block you.
This is stunning.
There we go.
Look at those two books.
The thing that I would say was a revelation was that you don't have to live according to the rules that you feel exist. You make your own rules, and as long as you're kind and compassionate, not only will people follow you, but people will want to have that same world. The thing about Burning Man that's so important is that people take responsibility, but they also can express themselves. And that combination is magic. And that's the world we really need to live in, especially now, I think, because right now there's too much that's hard. And if people aren't true to themselves, it makes it harder. And we need to make life easier for people.
So besides having wine, because as we cheer, we look at each other in the eyes, of course, and we taste. What is the beautiful world that you think is unveiling itself in front of us?
You know, I think we've been given a challenge in COVID, but I also think we've been given an extraordinary opportunity to slow down, to not have to drive everywhere, to only be in contact with a smaller number of people, to be rid of a lot of obligations that we didn't really want to have anyway, and to appreciate what is outside our window, what is on our front doorstep, who lives next door. And to really start being more true to ourselves and what we need to do. I think the thing I've learned about COVID is that life is fragile. And that we have to appreciate everything that we have, because even though we've lost a lot, there is so much abundance around us. I mean, certainly in Napa, there's super abundance, but everywhere there are treasures of kindness, of, you know, talking to the mailman, of seeing people in a new way, and we shouldn't miss this chance.
So you feel that chance of the world shifting is really happening and is going to be here to stay?
I think we can make it here to stay. And I think it's been shown in our government, in our personal lives, in our businesses, that the human connection and what's important is all that we really have. All the rest has fallen away.
That's right.
And we have to treasure it and preserve it and respect it. There's no other way through. And we're not even talking about the environment, and that we have to really get serious
Absolutely.
about.
Well, we should talk about the environment, because this is one of our great topic for both of us that we love so much and we committed with. But coming back to Burning Man, so how did you decide to even write a book? Because you went there, you had an awakening, an enlightenment, you loved it, and then you took it to another step and another level, as you do in anything you do in life. So tell us about that experience, because I know a lot of us in the turn of this new year are thinking, shall we do the same thing? Shall we continue in the same direction? What inspires me to evolve and to become someone else? You know, and I think you're the prime example. where you successfully, from building a family to having great child to, you know, all the things you've done, every turn you build success into a deeper, richer level.
The opportunity to write about Burning Man art was because to me it was so powerful. It wasn't a piece of art that someone said, this is the Mona Lisa, you should like it. I love the Mona Lisa, but
of course.
But it was a chance for you to see a piece of art that spoke to you and me to see something that spoke to me, and for us both to see something that didn't speak to us, and that was all okay. With Burning Man, the art is participatory, and it's really only completed by the viewer, by the person interacting with it. However that is, it's not behind a rope. You're climbing on it, you're activating it, you're turning on a light, you're figuring something out, and you're playing an instrument within it. And so it gives you a personal relationship to art. And we're talking now 10 years ago, that was radical. That was not the museum gallery system at all. Interestingly, I think this next generation of art aficionados are resonating with the kind of art that Burning Man has, and more museums are doing a wonderful job of bringing people in and engaging them, as opposed to having them be the spectator and the artist. The other thing about Burning Man art that's so interesting is that the artists are largely anonymous. There's no little plaque on the art out there, so you're not told what you're seeing. You have to figure it out.
Yes. And
that's a wonderful thing, to have to really ask yourself, what do I love? What's beautiful to me? What's fun? And then to play with it.
That's it.
You know, to play with it.
Yeah, the interaction of what you just described is amazing. And you've built a memento that we'll have forever, because as you said, they're all ephemeral.
Yes.
They all destroyed or burnt at the end of Burning Man?
Most of them now are not burned because of the environmental issues. To burn a piece, it has to actually be a part of the completion of the piece. So this amazing sculpture, for example, made out of wood, was burned because that was the artist's vision from the beginning, is a series of images that you look at and you appreciate, and then they're gone. The sculpture on the first edition is made out of powder-coated steel, and that still exists and is actually erected in an art park in upstate New York now.
Oh, really?
So, you know, there's lots of Burning Man art in downtown Reno and in wineries here in Napa and Sonoma. Have picked up a lot of Burning Man art.
And what you brought here, that amazing piece of jewelry, is a compilation of different great artists, right?
That's exactly right. So one of the principles of Burning Man, there are 10 principles: radical self-reliance, radical inclusion, radical self-expression, civic responsibility, participation, decommodification, immediacy, and my favorite, which is gifting. And so the principle of gifting at Burning Man is that a gift is given without expectation of return. So it's pure. So it's not that I give you something, you give me something. Oh my God, I didn't get anything for my uncle for Christmas. I better buy a pair of socks. It's a gift is truly something that you want to give and that the recipient takes pleasure in. And Burning Man is a gift economy. So you give your time, or you create something, or you make something that then you share with others. And a number of artists actually make jewelry, which I know you love to do.
Absolutely.
And so this
you gave me just an idea now. I'm going to do my own compilation soon.
This is a piece that incorporates 70 pieces of Burning Man jewelry that were all gifted to me. And you can point to anyone and I can tell you the story of who gave it to me and how and why. There's extraordinary artists involved. This is Jenny Bird Alcantara, and this is a beautiful sterling silver representation of the man. This is wood. This is it just goes on. This is the same artist, actually, Kate Raudenbush, who did that cover. You have to just keep digging. This is from a theme camp. It just goes on and on. This has my playa name on it. It says Coco. And even on the back, this is a really favorite artist of mine who did an Egyptian cartouche, who did a little Egyptian message about Burning Man. And on the back, it's counterweighted because this thing is heavy to wear. The artist who compiled it is named Jennifer George, and she is Rube Goldberg's granddaughter.
Huh.
And she manages his estate, and she curated his exhibit at the Smithsonian. And then this piece went to the Burning Man exhibit at the Smithsonian, made by her. So she had a piece there too. This is, I love this. These two, and the counterweight is so that it doesn't slide down in the front. This is the Iron Monkeys, who is a blacksmith collective in Seattle, and my daughter works with them. And this is a Tiffany Sterling medallion that someone had made for their camp. And then here we have another camp medallion, a shape of the city. I mean, it just goes on and on. I can explain every single one of these.
Breathtaking, isn't it?
And someone actually was kind enough to take a picture of me at Burning Man and make it into a necklace. And I thought, well, that's the maker's mark right there. So it's really, really, really fun. This was from a temple, and that eye glows in the dark. I mean, I could spend an hour telling you about all these pieces.
The influence of Burning Man to our society today, do you think is not only just very positive, of course, but are we moving into society as such? Do you think that's such?
I think so. I think we've learned we can't live without each other.
Yes.
We have to have a sense of community, and we have to see the world as super abundant and not scarce.
Yes.
There is so much more. There's enough food to feed everyone in the world. We just need to distribute it properly.
That's right.
There's enough parents in the world for the children who are in need. We just have to match them up. And if we see that the pie is bigger when we collaborate, as opposed to hoarding our own thing, our own piece, it's not a zero-sum game. There's enough for all of us. And the more we see the world that way, the better the world gets.
That's it. No, I'm fully with you. So we need to have a toast to a beautiful world.
A beautiful
Because this
world.
is a new wine, a Blanc de Blanc from France.
Beau monde.
Beau monde. So maybe you need to tell us a few words about the wine, because you're a wine expert. Among everything Jennifer writes about, Burning Man, actors, fashion, lifestyle, food. She's a true hedonist, wine, naturally. So she knows it all. So tell us, is it inviting you to live in a beautiful world, as the label?
It has this beautiful little bubble. It has a really, really, really fine bubble you can taste. So it's not too overpowering. And it's got lovely fruit. I can get that apple right away. And I've never tasted this wine. Truly.
First
time.
First time. Just arrived to the US. Now, Jennifer.
I would keep drinking that.
Well, let's do it. I'm going to serve you a little Chardonnay as well, because we're going to have to progress throughout the world of art. This is the Alchemy of Dreams. This is a painting I actually created for our house in Napa Valley that you've seen on the wall of Guapo Hill. And I will tell you about it shortly. But another question on this topic. You are very passionate about the environment.
Yes.
You know, and we share that so much together, from sustainability to organic to biodynamic to understanding the world around us. And I'd function from Burning Man to the trajectory we're going to. Where do you think are the big challenges we're facing, and what is your view on how to solve them?
Oh my gosh, that, you know, I would be an elected official if I actually had
Maybe
the solution.
you should. You know, I will vote for you, as you know.
I think we have to think about the lifetime impact of what we do. So when we buy a computer, we have to think about what are all those metals that go into the environment when we're finished with the computer. But the computer is saving us from having to drive somewhere. So we can appreciate that it actually helps the environment, but we can also appreciate that we have to take responsibility for either disposal or recycling of that and not just dump it. And the same with our food supply. You know, if an orange costs $1, are we incorporating the money it took and the gas it took to bring it to us? Are we paying a fair wage to the person who's picking that orange? And are we composting that peel afterwards, or just throwing it in the garbage?
That's right.
So we just need a long view. There's no such thing as something cheap. There's things that have value at every stage of the process. I actually brought you some marmalade that I made.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the things I love about marmalade is that it uses absolutely every piece of the orange, not just the fruit, to make something. But you have to separate them and cook them all separately and then recombine them. And that's...
Yeah, and within that philosophy of the life cycle of everything, from the making to pre-making to disposing, do you think people are realizing the importance of it a lot more after the last 9 months we've lived? That's the feeling I have.
And I think we're blessed in California because we have curbside composting. We have, I mean, it's easy to do in California where we can get fruit year round outside. It's a lot harder when you're living in Vermont in the snow. So I appreciate the challenge that it takes to do it right. But I also think that's the only way we're going to survive on this planet. And
absolutely,
we're throwing away a lot of the good stuff that we don't need to. There's a buy nothing group in my neighborhood. Yes. And when someone has something they no longer need, their kids outgrown their snow boots, they post it. You can't sell it. You leave it on your porch and someone comes and gets it. And then it just keeps recycling. It's wonderful.
And how do you recommend we convey that to the world on a greater scale and move in a bigger way into this more sustainable world?
You know, I think it's such a challenge that it's daunting. So you have to do one piece at a time, one day at a time, whether it's taking your plastic container back to the store and refilling it, with shampoo, or starting your own compost bin, or sharing something with your neighbors, or, joining this Buy Nothing group, which is actually national. Yes. But
Buy Nothing group. So we'll post that as well in the chat, because I think it's very important that we all aware of a lot of those organizations that exist to be able to improve. That's little by little, as you said.
That's exactly right. There's a group that you fill your old Amazon box and it will take it with clothes and you mail it to them and then they distribute it. They're trying to make donations easy. And we've just got to realize outside our front door, there's someone that needs something that we don't need. And we've got to start sharing it. Yeah. Because we don't need all that stuff.
It's so well said. Outside our front door, someone needs it. Talking about your true sense of altruism, after your business school, you decided to create an amazing firm. And I'm going to go and grab this great book as well that you had, of course, written as well about, I believe, one of the most important part of our society is as we get older, we are not obsolete. On the opposite, we have so much to give back and so much to offer to the younger generation. And I'm the product of it. My grandparents were with me till 100 years old, 104, 98, 99, with full minds and great communication skills, which allowed us to learn a great deal. Not that we remember it all, but at least we spent a lot of time with them and learned a lot from them. So tell us how you created this business as well, which was amazing, and how you decided to move on and do something else afterwards, because this is very cool.
So my first business was retirement communities. We managed luxury retirement communities and built them. And what was so interesting about that business was I felt it was a service for seniors because people were treating retirement communities like a dead end, when in fact they could be a hotel.
That's right.
With medical support. But most of the time what people wanted was a great quality of life. And if you thought of people in terms of a guest and a hospitality mindset, not a sick bed mindset, everybody benefited.
That's right.
When they needed the healthcare, we made sure it was there. But most of the time they wanted fabulous food. We had an amazing wine cellar. We had a pastry chef. And we had lovely decor. And we invited people to lead classes, to share what they had to offer. We actually had a resident who was teaching English as a second language to some of our staff who'd never had the chance to have an advanced education. And what happened was we took great care of the staff and they took great care of our residents. Anyone who does this work is such a hero in my mind. And we are so lucky to have immigrants who do this And we as the population ages, we have got to get clear
Yes.
that this is a worthy, meaningful, important business, and it'll benefit all of us.
For sure.
When everyone contributes to society, everyone benefits.
How do you recommend within this great society and with all the seniors you live with, because you were running this amazing business, to make sure they participate to society? You know, we're here in Napa Valley in Yountville, and we have 1,100 veteran homes,
Yeah.
you know, literally across Highway 29. And I'm often thinking, meeting them, many of them, because they just walk up and down the street of Yountville, and they have such rich experience, so much. How do we integrate them back into society without disconnecting them and having them even teach the younger generation about their own experience? How do you recommend we put that together?
You know, giving people opportunities to meet where they can meet. You know, you could have a discussion group.
Yes.
You know, now on Zoom, but later, you know, about you could have a book club. And I think what's so important is for the generations to mix. There are high school students who
Yes.
have to write reports on history, who could be interviewing people who fought in D-Day.
That's right.
And finding ways for collaboration. One of the things I really learned at Burning Man was, if you break down that fourth wall, if you stop being afraid of what you're thinking of me and
Yes.
I'm thinking of you, if I'm free to just talk to you as a human, we have a lot in common.
That's right.
And at Burning Man, you're welcome to speak to anyone, and you're not expected to shake hands or to be formal or talk about your job. You're just human to human. And any ways we can do that, at the grocery store, you know, at the gas station, that's what people want. They want that connection, but they're afraid you'll think they're crazy for breaking through and telling
right.
them you love their hat, or you'd really be interested in hearing what they did in high school.
No, it's a great advice. And I feel, you know, my first visit to the United States when I was 10 and a half was exactly this. And I think we went away maybe a little bit of it or from it. But I sense that we're going back to this after this period of time. So I will be very positive in it. So let's have a toast on that.
Oh.
Maybe with the Chardonnay.
With the
now.
Chardonnay.
So-
All right, thank you.
This one is all about dreams. So I'd like to know what inspires you to do all what you do, Jennifer, because you are amazing, from business to writing to art to fashion. You touch so many great topics. What drives this amazing lady?
Possibility. There's the only limitation I have
Yes.
is thinking I can't. And
Is thinking I cannot. I love it.
And if I stop thinking that way, everything is possible. I mean, you came to this country at 10 and a half and tasted wine from a winery that you swore one day would be a part of your portfolio,
Yes,
and
yes.
now is at Buena Vista. I mean,
Thank
you see the possibility in the Oakville grocery, in jewelry, in crystal, and then you connect them. And I think that is the thing that I've been most blessed with, is this notion that things are interconnected. And so
Yes.
one of the things I love to do, I love to connect people, I love to connect ideas and share, because
That's right.
there's not much else in the world that's fulfilling to me. Sharing is what I love to do, and books are a way to share ideas, to share thoughts. You know, what's interesting is we're talking about this feeling of openness. After you have a glass of wine in your tasting room, you have that feeling. People talk to each other. They
That's
swap
right.
restaurant tips. They talk about, you know, where they're going to go next or where they're going to travel. I think wine breaks down that barrier and lets us share.
Absolutely.
So let's drink more wine.
Let's drink more wine. But I love what you just said as far as your inspiration is sharing, it's people, it's communication. You're a true accelerator of relationship as well. You see people that should meet, that should be together, and things that will changed the world in many ways. Talking about that, this was a great book.
Well, look at who's on the cover.
Who did you come about this beautiful one with Assouline, too?
Assouline. Well, Assouline actually approached a dear friend of mine named Jean-Charles Boisset to ask who should write their book in the spirit of Napa Valley. And I was fortunate enough to take that phone call.
The best,
and,
Jennifer Reiser.
I mean, to spend a year writing about Napa Valley was a real hardship. You know,
yeah, for sure.
You had to go to wineries, you had to go to restaurants. It was very difficult, but somehow I managed. And Assouline does this series where they do books in the spirit of Palm Beach and Aspen and Hollywood, and to write about Napa was a privilege. The chapter that's actually my favorite is about the geology of Napa Valley, because I had not realized how important what happened to the earth 30,000 years ago was to the creation of wine that was made 3 years ago.
That's right. I think it was, one, it's a fabulous book, and two, not only it's exciting, informative, vibrant, but as well educational. And I think you've done it in such a short little 100 pages, so congratulations for that.
Merci.
But talking about books, you've done one recently, which is very exciting, with another great
great person. Well,
look at this young man.
The Art of Being Bill. Here, I'm gonna have to move your beautiful champagne. This book is about people who create Bill Murray fan art, which is a thing.
And I never realized there was so much.
Who knew? And what's interesting about this book, there's all these images that people do of Bill. Bill is kind of a cult figure. People love him and they identify with him and they want to do things about him, even if they've never met him. This is made out of seeds. There's this beautiful picture. Some are from, some of these images, they're all amateur artists. Some of these images are fictitious. Some are from movies. This is actually a Bill Murray tattoo. There's also my favorite piece in the whole book, which of course I should have marked. So the book is fan art as well as reviews of every movie Bill Murray has ever made, which is what the writing part.
And you've always loved this actor, so for you, to write a book with him must have been very exciting.
It was great fun. I actually didn't write it with him. I wrote it for the publisher, and I hope he likes it. I think he does. This piece is really fascinating. It looks like a sculpture.
Yes.
It's a cake.
What?
It's a Bill Murray cake.
So you can eat his face.
There you go. And that's him as Steve Zissou. So the thing about Bill Murray is that he's sort of always himself, and yet he's a character you can identify with. And he keeps reinventing his role. You know, he really started as a clown and much more of a goofball, and he's evolved into this kind of pensive, middle-aged, thoughtful figure who may not have, his characters may not have succeeded, but they have an essence and a core. And I think he gives people, again, permission to be themselves, because his characters aren't always winners. They're just people who are truly in touch with who they are.
So was it a dream for you to write such a book?
It was a dream and a challenge to write 30 essays about Bill Murray's acting and make them all different. Was one of the hardest writing projects I've ever undertaken, because I don't want the reader to be bored. And if you've seen the film, I want to make it relevant. If you haven't seen the film, I want to make it engaging.
That's right.
And so I love taking on a writing challenge like that pushes me to the edge, because I'd write something, then I'd read it the next morning and I'd hate it and I'd start all over again. But then I still had 22 more movies to watch. So
you watch every single movie again in order to undertake this.
Yeah,
what a big research.
It was fun.
Pretty exciting too.
My Netflix and Amazon. I've never watched so many movies in my life.
Well, talking about dream, we're drinking a wine named The Alchemy of Dream.
I love that.
So this is a Chardonnay, but as you taste it again, give us a few words on it. But I'd love to get your dream that you have not yet accomplished. What is it?
Oh, I've got
because
one.
you know, Jennifer is full of ideas, and she writes for many magazines and newspapers, as I said. And by the way, you should tell us which one you love to write the most, and where shall we read you
Oh my gosh.
on a regular basis? Because I know you're so prolific.
Right now, I just did a piece for Oat Living, and
Mm-hmm.
you were in that. You were actually on the cover of that. And you know, it varies. I love to. I've written for the San Francisco Chronicle. I've written for magazine. I wrote for American Airlines magazine.
Even the Nob Hill Gazette.
I've Nob Hill Gazette and
sure.
Gentry, and you know, I write.
And you just love to write.
You know what? It's a chance to write about happy things, about fashion,
Yes.
about food, about wine. It's an excuse for me to really think hard and try and convey the pleasure of some experience. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
This wine is wonderful. It's
So is this one allowing you to share your dreams?
my dream.
We want to go behind that lovely leopard dress. We want to go deep into those gorgeous blonde red hair and know more Jennifer and 2021. So what's your dream?
My dream is another book, thinking about how we can reframe ourselves, particularly for women. I think women d'un certain âge, as
Oui.
it were,
Yes.
have been caught in a time and place where we've had to be all things to all people. We've had to be mothers and professionals, and we've had to be feminists but feminine, and it's been really hard. And I think one of the things that happens is that we end up feeling like we failed because we haven't been able to achieve one thing. We've had to be many things. And I'd like to reframe that. And I have a wonderful collaborator to work with. And
Are you willing to share that?
well,
Or maybe not yet.
not yet.
You'll
not
have to
yet.
come back for this.
There you go. But there's something there, and I think as we live in this shutdown phase, it's time to regroup what we want for the next
Yes.
phase of our life. I know I'm doing it very seriously. I'm saying, okay, how many years do I have left?
Yes.
How many decades? How many minutes? How to make those matter
Mm-hmm.
to the world and to myself. So I need to create a book that's a gift
I
to the
love
world.
the idea. So whenever you're done with it, you're going to have to come back and we should introduce it to the world together.
Happily. So that's my professional dream. And my personal dream I've been thinking about is maybe a little cottage somewhere in wine country. I have to think about
Well,
that.
we have lots of ideas for you.
There we go.
This would be great to see you closer to us on a regular basis.
Every time I come here, I fall in love and I think, why am I not living here? So,
Well, you're so close.
Yes.
You know, Pacific Heights is not too far away. But let's come back to this previous topic that I love, because I agree with you. The perception of women often on themselves, not from the masculine side, but from your own. I've seen it with my grandmothers, with my mother. It's never enough, even though you've achieved so much.
so much.
So, what is your recommendation to all the ladies entering 2021 to feel that it's enough and to feel that they've done a lot and to gratify it, to internalize it, and to be happy with it and be themselves?
You know, I borrow from all the great women who have gone before, who say, we rise.
Yes.
We are enough. We have to celebrate who we are, our bodies as they are, our minds as they are. We have to celebrate that raising a moral child
Yes.
is a professional accomplishment, that being a good neighbor or a kind daughter is an important role in society.
Yes.
And just because it's not compensated doesn't mean it's not crucial. So that's really my message for the new year is congratulate yourself on who you are and what you've done, not on what you haven't been able to do. I mean, if I measure myself against my business school, colleagues, I haven't achieved enough. Mm-hmm. I'm not a CEO anymore. or
Yeah,
whatever.
because it's always come down to the org chart or to the financial achievements.
Exactly.
Why does our society, and in full agreement with you. And maybe because I'm European, where money is not something we really show as much. Actually, the more you have, the less you show it, right? For all kinds of reasons. In Europe and here, it's often, but I hope it's going to evolve. It's often look at my painting in the wall, look at my wine cellar, look at my furniture, look at my cars, look at my bank accounts. Why should it come down to those simplistic, materialistic?
Because we show those things when we feel we aren't enough.
Yes.
Those things are objects that we feel others will admire when we don't admire ourselves. So there's nothing wrong with having a beautiful car, a lovely house, an exquisite painting, but we have to appreciate what was behind it, the artistry or the engineering, not have it so that other people will admire us. Because people really don't admire us for money. They admire us for who we are.
That's right. And how do you recommend we stress this? And I'm going to get another glass because I know you want to continue to sip on your Chardonnay. How do you suggest we convey this a lot more in 2021 and beyond? Because I feel we're touching on a very important topic, and I hope in our society today we are at a turning point, thanks to what happened, to really reassess those values and the ethical depth of who we are.
You know, it so much comes down to the individual, and you know, if we can just be kind to each other, to reach out to each other, you know, modeling when someone feels good about themselves, when we help someone feel good about themselves, they share that with others.
Yes.
And we're in a world where we realize how unbelievably connected we are. And we have to just keep connecting.
Yes.
Even though it's scary and we're worried about what they think, and maybe they'll think I'm stupid or they'll think I'm weird because I just said something, or I don't know you, but I complimented you, or I gave your kid some stickers in the grocery store to help them stop crying.
Yes.
We just have to keep breaking through the fear and connecting. And that's going to make all the difference, I think.
That's very powerful. And I so much agree with you. To that, do you believe sometimes things are irreversible, meaning destiny is guiding us to be who we are, and we are all sent with a mission, like the tarot cards. This is why I love tarot cards.
I love tarot cards.
And the potential chronology of life is written, and we can eventually go a little bit of a deviation from it, but somehow it is written.
You know, I ponder that question a lot.
Yes.
And I do not have the answer. I do know that we have free will, and at every moment we have a choice of doing the right thing, of being good, of being kind, including to ourselves.
Yes.
And we have to keep making that choice. One of the things about the human brain, because I did a book on the brain that never got published, so I learned a lot about that as well. I worked with this brilliant brain scientist. And fear is such a dominant part of our lizard brain.
Yes.
Because we have to survive. That fear controls us much more than it needs to. And so if I don't do something because I think you'll think I'm stupid.
That's right.
I'm controlled by fear, and I let that opportunity go.
Yes.
And so we have to figure out ways to manage reasonable fear, you know, looking both ways before we cross the street, with unreasonable fear, which is of judgment or of harm, and find ways to choose a better path. And it's hard. It's hard work because habit is a part of what the brain recognizes, so that everything isn't new all the time. And habit is often attuned to survival.
Yes.
And survival has to do with what berry do I not eat, and what mushroom do I eat? So it's complicated. We are such complex creatures that are guided by a lot of instincts that don't always serve us. I think if we could all spend some time in this shutdown, learning how to meditate, learning how to listen to ourselves, learning how to be kind to ourselves, we could really shift the energy
Absolutely.
in how we feel and how we feel about the world.
I'm a firm believer of all what you said, and I'd like to invite you to share how you meditate. How do you do it? Besides, of course, having red wine next to the fireplace and enjoying time as you described.
Oh my
How
goodness.
do you do it? How do you...
You know, there are
Because
these
you're a great
wonder-
thinker naturally, so...
So, you know, the thing I've learned about thinking is that you have to stop thinking. You know, don't believe everything you think. And meditation...
Don't believe everything you think. Well said.
Yeah. Meditation really helps you do that. There are wonderful apps that actually do guided meditation. I started doing that. I've also learned how to do this thing called EFT tapping, which is called emotional freedom technique, where you tap on these key points on your body, and that helps you kind of shift the energy and break the neural pathways, and then you speak what you're afraid of as you're tapping on yourself, and by making it real, it dissipates. So when things are really tough for me, you'll see me doing this, and that's because I'm tapping and
it's not
trying
because
to...
you're getting excited.
No. Well, you can do it when you're happy too, but I find EFT tapping for me is a form of meditation. And you can, there's lots of videos. I work with a woman named Sonia Sophia. There's tons of videos on YouTube. The thing I like about tapping is that I am such an active person that the idea of sitting still and meditating for hours, I have a really hard time. But if I'm doing, I feel like, okay, I'm helping, I'm doing something.
As a writer,
but I'm also,
of course,
expelling what
and
I
I
need
love
to.
what you said on thinking. As you write, does it help you to meditate in many ways? Do you meditate as you write?
Well, the dream is to get into the zone. The dream is to be so full of a subject that it literally, I write on a keyboard, that it literally flows through your fingers onto the computer. And when you reach that state, it is just bliss. The muse has alighted. And it's beautiful.
The muse.
But sometimes it's just a slog, and you just push yourself to write something. But I always try and put it aside and look at it ideally the next day, because it's very hard to be objective about your own writing. In every book I've written, I will open it and I'll read something and I'll think, why did I say that way? That was so, there would be such a clearer way to say that. But you don't get that chance when you have a book. You have to just commit. So you try and give yourself enough time to read it, and you give yourself friends who will edit it, and you work with people who are objective.
Now, besides the help of wine, which could be great to get into the zone, how do you get into that zone? Because as a writer, I've observed through many years of friendship, you have the ability to dive into a subject and to become not only an expert, but to be in that zone of that topic. I've seen it with you on fashion, on food, on jewelry, on wine, naturally, on architecture, on design, on paintings. I've seen you in so many fields. How do you succeed, and how do you recommend all of us to get into that zone?
First of all, you write about something you love.
Okay.
Or you know. It's so hard to be in the zone when you feel like you don't have something to share. With this Burning Man book, I was bursting. There was so much I want. There's 260 photos, and that doesn't scratch the surface of all the pieces of art I wanted to write about in this book.
And I felt it as you offered it to me. I read it back to cover, and I adored the journey. I had the feeling to be there.
That's the goal.
And you really did that. And dear friends, you need to get the book. I wanted to offer it to a few friends. I know it's sold out, so it's not easy to get, but you know, I had never been, and so far I've never been to Burning Man. And I
keep trying to change that, Jean-Charles.
And I'm always in France normally at that time. This is the reason why. But there's no excuse. Thanks to you, though, you got me in the zone where I could not put the book down.
That's wonderful.
As I told you before, it's a magnificent exercise of style and bringing you into that zone. That's why I'm asking that question, because as I create too, I'm in the zone, but I get taken away from the zone, and coming back into it is always
hard. It's passion. It comes back to passion. If you really have to isolate yourself. When I'm writing a book, I I kind of put the word out to my friends, to my family, to everyone that, guys, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Because you have to sequester yourself, not allow yourself distractions. You can't go on Facebook. You can't go get the mail. You can't take out the garbage.
Yes.
You can't do all the things that you hated doing before you had to face writing.
Yes.
You just have to, you force yourself to be in a pure state where you can just focus on what you want to say. And you have to be selfish, which is something you don't like to do and I don't like to do. But it's the only way you have enough clarity to be able to funnel everything that you have to offer onto the page.
Huh.
So,
Ooh la la. Ooh la la. It's giving me goosebumps of excitement to do or to want to do.
another book?
Well, for sure, we're going to have to do another book. Now, as we taste tarot and this great 15th century Franco-Italian, card game of many arcanes, this wine is a lot of fun because 12 cards.
I love it.
Same Napa Valley wine, 12 in a case. So you could play tarot just with a case of wine, all mix and match. So you get to discover from Cabernet Napa all the cards of the tarot.
And have you developed new arcana? Are these new
all
cards?
Historical cards.
Okay.
So we've done the 26 now because it's our second vintage. So we've got 12 plus 12 and 2. So the 26 arcanes have been represented. So when you buy the wine as a full case, you never know what you're getting.
I love it.
And at home, you could do the game with your friends at dinner.
Yeah.
And I know you love to play games, so it would be a lot of fun.
Well,
so now another question for you. Because, dear friends, I know we've been together for over 50 minutes, but with Jennifer, there's no way. Our dinners and gathering are 5, 6, 7, 8 hours.
our first interview was 5.5 hours.
Can you remember that?
I've never had so much to drink conducting an interview in my life.
Well, and
it was
we've
so
never
much
had
fun.
so much fun.
It was so much fun.
And we got to do
3 languages.
more. In 3 languages.
In 5 restaurants. It was my favorite interview of all time.
Well, and me too. So to this, would you be willing, even though we discover your passion, but what is your true passion in life? Because we're here to talk passion. What is yours? Sharing, helping others, from the veteran homes to actors, to writers, to book publishers, to magazines, to newspapers, to people, to building a great family, to doing all that. What is your, maybe a passion we don't know about?
A very wise woman told me your goal in life is to find contentment, which was shocking to me. I thought it would be something big, but she said to find the joy in the experience, because the experiences will continue to unfold, and to not miss the moment because you're distracted or thinking about so many other things, or thinking about the future. And I was reading about a society in the Amazon that the reason that they focus on happiness is they don't think about the past or the future. They think about the present.
The present.
And that's a very Buddhist notion.
Yes.
It's an ancient notion, but it's something that I will continue to seek. Is that a passion? Yes, because it's hard and exciting and always fulfilling when you can do it.
Yes, it's always fulfilling. And it's not easy to say I'm living the present.
No, it's hard.
As you say, it's a Buddhist approach. It's a philosophy of life. And it's not our, whether it would be Catholicism or Protestantism or Judaism or Muslimism, we live in the past and the future, not just only in the present. Right?
What could be better than having 3 glasses of wine in front of you?
Well, and for you, Beau Monde, The Alchemy of Dreams, and Tarot, which is about your future. So now, Jennifer, the big, statement you need to share with everybody. And I know I did not prepare Jennifer for that question, but she's very wise and of incredible advice, not only to your children, your husband, but as well your friends and family and all the people who read you every day or every week. What would be your advice or your suggestions or your way of life or your message at large to everybody all around the world. You know, all our friends are not just in the US, it's Asia, it's Europe, it's Africa. We have a lot of friends all over the world. What you be your 2021 message?
Celebrate the abundance. Celebrate how much we all have in spirit, in potential, in friends, in family, and really appreciate that, because that's all we have. Everything else goes, but we have the ability within ourselves to celebrate what we do have, what is good, and what we can do. And if we lose sight of that, we've missed the point.
Very profound, dear friends. Replay this message. It's an important one. The wise Jennifer Reiser. Jennifer, I really want to thank you so much. First, for wearing my favorite animal print, because she's the leopard, and she's the tiger, and she's the crocodile, and she's the snake. She represents all the menagerie, because we know each other well, and I cannot wait for all of you to get those books, of course, to dive into Jennifer's mind, to make sure as well you discover her through the website that we're going to post, and to herself, because she's an amazing lady. And I feel so fortunate, Jennifer, to have met you many, many years ago, for us to have been friends for so many great years, and to envision always great things in the future.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Absolutely.
To an amazing, profound year, dear friends.